What's up, y'all? Chow here, chilling. I've been away from the channel for a little while. Life happens. Yeah, but I wanted to make a video because I just wanted to talk about Flesh and Blood a little bit. Some of the different ways I've been playing recently, some of the stuff that's happened recently. I want to talk about skirmish events, armory events. I want to talk about the drone ban that happened a few days ago, maybe talk about the XP thing and Monarch coming up because we're getting closer and closer to Monarch, which I'm super excited for. But, some people feel some kind of way about Monarch. So let's start with skirmish. Played in a skirmish event earlier today. It was the Lucky Gaming skirmish event. It was a lot of fun. Turns out every single skirmish event has been 6 rounds because there's always 64 people playing these armories, which has kind of made it so that, when skirmish was first coming out, the idea was like, oh man, like I'm going to get a playmat, I'm going to get cold foil. When I first heard about skirmish, I thought that we were going to be doing a skirmish in our local game store, which generally has like 8 to 10 players. We normally do draft or a blitz kind of thing whenever we have enough to fire off an event. But we thought we were going to have one in our store, which would have made it so that if we had 10, 12, 14 players, that it was pretty likely most of us were going to be walking home with a cold foil hero at least, and the winners would get a playmat. But this was back in like February or so, early February. And since then we've all experienced skirmish being, in North America at least, completely webcam focused. So I enjoy it. I think skirmishes are super fun. It's a great way to just play whatever deck you want because it's not really competitive. I don't think anybody is out there trying to do like sneaky shenanigans to eke out wins. One of the coolest things is after you play skirmish, I have found myself sitting in the room with the person I played, regardless of who won or who lost, talking about our plays and just kind of talking about the love of the game. Like that's one thing you really notice playing in skirmishes and talking to all these different people is like how much passion there really is for the game out there. Everybody loves the heroes. Everyone's trying new stuff. I've done 5 skirmishes so far. The first 3 I played Dorinthia, Warrior. The fourth one I played Bravo, and today I played Rhinar. I have much, much better success playing Dorinthia. I was actually able to top 8 one of the skirmishes with Dorinthia, but then I got destroyed by Ira. And that's one thing we've also learned is that the meta is really becoming Ira and Dorinthia focused, which I don't think is a bad thing. Ira is strictly a blitz hero. You're never going to have to worry about Ira in constructed. And, Ninja's a very good class, and Ira plays very well. It's just so much value. So you learn that Ira's very strong. That's something that the meta is shaking out to be Ira and Dorinthia. So yeah, man, I love these skirmishes. One thing about skirmishes and like something that I think people figured out is that like prizes are much harder to come by. Legend Story Studios just released the list the other day about the first wave, which I'm also curious about. Because there's only like there's about 4 weeks left, I think. 3 or 4 weeks left in skirmish as a whole. And they said that there's going to be 3 waves, but the first wave consisted of like 4 weeks of skirmish events. So I don't know if the second wave is going to be only 2 weeks and the third wave is going to be another 2 weeks. So that might be easier. You're maybe more likely to get a prize in those lists. Thankfully, I am going to be the proud owner of a cold foil. I'm really hoping to dodge Katsu. I would really enjoy Bravo, Dorinthia, or Dash. That would really push me into that hero for Classic Constructed, which is a format that I'm very excited to start playing. That's one thing I'm looking forward to as a huge Flesh and Blood fan in North America, is more organized play being focused around Classic Constructed. Because right now, everything is Blitz focused, right? So skirmishes have been fantastic. I think it's an amazing thing the Legend Story Studios put out. They really went the extra mile to be like, hey, people are stuck at home. Not everybody can make it to an armory event. So let's find a way to get people playing. And it's been great for game stores. You know, imagine having 64 players each sign up for $20 when really what you have to do is run a tournament. So Legend Story Studios is putting in so much work. Like they have really sponsored so much play for it's global, honestly. You know, like my mentality is North America, but it's been going on around the world, which is fantastic. I think 2021 is going to be a crazy year for Flesh and Blood. Can't wait to see what happens over this year. I mean, I'm in it for the long haul, so I'm super excited. Speaking of armory events, transition, 10 out of 10. Not everyone can make it to an armory event. I'm located in South Florida, which is honestly like the Wild West when it comes to COVID restrictions in the United States. So I go and play in an armory event every Sunday. You know, we have gotten in some sealed boxes recently, so we've been able to do sealed, potentially draft in the future, which is super fun. So I feel very fortunate in that sense that I get to enjoy armory events. And that's one thing I want to say to players who maybe do not have that capability right now. Like maybe you aren't going out and playing in armory events. When it makes it to you locally, it is going to be fantastic. So as someone who has done Magic the Gathering, you know, F&M, going and playing drafts, stuff like that, Legend Story Studios goes above and beyond to provide an experience for its players on a local level. Like an Armory kit is so far past any kind of prize support offered by other trading card games, you know? Every month you get cold foils, heroes, crazy brew, at least for season 3, play mats, awesome promos, you know? So yeah, I just want to tell players out there, if maybe you don't have a huge local scene in the sense that you can't go out and play at your local game store, be patient, because when armory events make their way to you, it is going to be well worth the wait. And I think if you're enjoying the game now, you're going to be in a great position to potentially win cold foil heroes and start building your collection out more and just enjoying the game. It's this community has been so open as far as when we're at our local game store, if a new player comes in, every player who has a collection is so willing to be like, hey man, take these rares, take this, you're going to need this card, you know, if you come back next week, I'll have this card that you need. Everyone is so willing to support the new players coming in. So if you're in a position to do that for new players, I highly recommend it. It's on us as a community to really foster this game and get more people into it, because we're going to have a lot of refugees coming from other card games. A lot of other card games have been frustrating in a lot of different ways. So I think Flesh and Blood is definitely a game that a lot of people are going to be coming to as something new to try. So armory events, again, if you don't have them, please be patient. It's so worth it. And even if you have to travel a little bit, if you're in a position where you can, if you're in a location in the world that allows organized play like that, I'd say I drive 45 minutes to get to my armory event. And I think that I would drive an hour and a half, honestly. So if you have to drive a little bit out of your way to go and enjoy an armory event, try it once, see if you enjoy it, see if the people at the store, if you mesh well with them, because building a play group, I've already made like three or four people that I'm pretty close with. I enjoy talking to these dudes. I enjoy playing. We are all hyped up for when organized play really hits the scene, because we want to drive to Orlando. We want to get a hotel room, play test, get it done. So moving on from armory events, let's talk about the drone ban that happened a couple of days ago. So Drone of Brutality is the first card that has been banned in Flesh and Blood. You know, aside from like Go Bananas, which was it's a really fun promo card. I think it would be super fun to see play. Imagine just showing up to an event with like 2 cases and just being like, when I need a clutch E-Strike, I'm gonna dig through these boxes until I get it. Like, I need this card. But aside from that, Go Bananas is a goof. But Drone of Brutality is starting on the 26th, so in about a week, Drone of Brutality will no longer be legal in Classic Constructed and Blitz, which a lot of players don't agree with it as a card that was causing a bunch of issues, but I think Legend Story Studios did a great job in their explanation of it being more against their design philosophy as opposed to it being dangerous to the meta, you know? So the core concept of every card counts is crucial to Flesh and Blood. That's the decision making. You're playing somebody, it's the sweaty decision of, should I block with 3 cards, you know, or should I take 7 damage to the face? Like, that's the trade-off that's super crucial to this game, and fatiguing should be a real possibility, you know? And Drone of Brutality really played against that, to where you could play red, you could play blue, and you would always have a pitch card. You would always have a 6 damage attack, and it just made it so that fatiguing games weren't really an issue. If your opponent had Drone of Brutalities and you didn't, and it went the distance, if the game went the distance, you would be in a tough spot, because Drone of Brutality is just value. It's everlasting value. So personally, I think it was a very good call from LSS to put their foot down and be like, hey, we didn't really intend this to kind of be how things worked out. We've made a mistake. We're going to get rid of this. The one issue that I have is I'm a big fan of the limited environment. I love sealed. I love draft. And Drone of Brutality is a monster of a card in sealed and draft. And their decision to remove Drone of Brutality from boxes altogether is interesting to me, you know? Because there's 2 ways of looking at it. There's the idea of it comes from a good place, because now newer players won't open up dead cards. You're not going to open up Drone of Brutality and be like, wow, this is really cool, and then take it to an event and someone be like, hey, that card was banned out a year or 2 ago, you know? But them removing it entirely is taking away a crucial piece of the limited environment. And of course, something else is going to fill its role. You might just have to play a bobble now, you know? But I'm going to miss Drone. Another interesting thing about this is, does this create some kind of premium on boxes that still have Drone of Brutality in it? Will there be some kind of distinction between Welcome to Wraith boxes that were printed pre-ban and post-ban? Is there going to be a like drone-proof sticker on the box that says, hey, Drone of Brutality's not in here anymore. This was printed after March 2021, you know? I really don't think so. I think Unlimited, especially once supply catches up to demand, because we're still in an environment where Unlimited boxes easily run $90+, and they can be difficult to find for some players. I think once supply reaches up or catches up to that an Unlimited box is going to be an Unlimited box. There's a little bit of a frenzy right now over Drone of Brutalities, because FOMO, fear of missing out, is so intense in Flesh and Blood. It's one of the few games that anytime any news comes out, it ripples through the entire game. So, of course, the night that the announcement went live, TCG Player and a lot of other online marketplaces, Drone of Brutalities were scooped up, and you could expect that with alpha cards, but even Unlimited cards have kind of received this premium. So I would recommend, if you have Drone of Brutalities, hold on to them. It's a cool piece of history of the game. It's the first banned card. It's the first reserved list card, in the sense that this card is unlikely to be printed again. You know, they could print it in some fashion where there's a product that isn't I don't want to say standard because there's no standard, that isn't legal in a competitive sense. So maybe if there's a player versus environment, a PvE style game, maybe drone is a monster of a card in that format, that game mode. So they introduce it back into existence, but it's unlikely. There's always been some rumor of a PvE style. What's interesting to me is Legend Story Studios is in New Zealand. The developers of the action RPG game Path of Exile are also in New Zealand, Grinding Gear Games. And they're close. The lead developer of Grinding Gear Games is a huge card game fan. So it would be exciting to see some kind of intermingling between those ideas and those concepts to come together to produce a very unique card game atmosphere. But, that's down the road, I imagine. LSS definitely has its plate full currently. But yeah, rip, Droner Brutality, you will be missed. F in the chat, press X to pay respects. I'm holding on to mine. I love them. I still have a couple of sealed Welcome to Wraith boxes, and it's always going to be a joy in the future when I crack those boxes open to play draft or sealed with my friends. It's always going to be an interesting little tidbit, an interesting little story. Oh, hey, this card no longer is printed. It no longer exists in the eyes of LSS. Check that out. That's cool. And then finally, in this video, let's talk about Monarch, because Monarch is coming up. First edition is going to be dropping, a little bit more than a month. Spoiler season starts in about 2 weeks, and I am hype. Hype. I can't wait to start seeing spoilers. I wasn't super into the game when Crucible of War was having its spoiler season. I do love spoiler seasons. I don't play a ton of Magic the Gathering, but I still have a ton of Magic the Gathering YouTubers that I watch whenever a new set is coming out to see their spoilers. So I'm going to be just as excited for Flesh and Blood. Flesh and Blood has a great online presence in YouTube. There's a ton of different channels, tons of different personalities discussing this game. So I would check it out. But Monarch, I think one of the biggest things that Monarch is going to do for the game as far as creating more of a player base is going to be coming out with new starter decks, because that to me is honestly one of the highest barrier to entries that the game has right now. Because if you find somebody who likes TCGs and you want to get them to play Flesh and Blood, for them to start building a collection, you have to sell them on the idea of buying a pre-made deck from somebody online. And that kind of robs the experience from players of opening up a sealed product and making those decisions yourself. What should I take out? What should I put in? Like, it's that connection between your first sealed product, your first sealed deck. A lot of people can remember the first Planeswalker deck they had, or the first, before Planeswalkers, the first starter deck they had that really introduced you to a game and started that passion. So I think once Monarch has its Blitz decks come out, that it's going to be so much easier for newer players to get into the game and really fall in love with it, like so many of us have. Pre-orders are still pretty crazy. Now you can find them, Channel Fireballs in the 220 range. Star City Games no longer has them. TCG Player was a dumpster fire of a at-home pre-release kit. I'm a little bit salty because I was never able to lock mine down. So I have about 6 first edition boxes on lock, and I'm very happy with that. I recommend everybody to check out Team Covenant just for the future, for the next set. Be on that boat, people, because that is the best deal you're going to find around for that stuff. And those guys are top notch. But yeah, aside from first edition, I'm so excited that only 3 weeks after first edition's release, we're going to have unlimited. So that really gives people the opportunity to get some first edition, decide to keep it sealed if they want, crack it open, crinkle, open up their packs, or, unlimited is right behind it. Your cards are going to be right there. And it is the first time that we're not going to have multiple releases of a first edition product. Like the first edition Monarch that hits the scene is the first edition Monarch. That's it. So I'm super excited to see what happens. I've been away from the channel for a little while. If you're still watching, I appreciate it. I want to get back into doing some videos. I want to get more comfortable just talking like this about the game. If this is something you enjoyed, let me know. Me and my girlfriend are going to be getting a new place soon. She's still dealing with the final last bits of cancer treatment, and she'll be having surgery soon. So hopefully a few months down the line, we'll have more time to maybe play some games together on camera. There's a lot of stuff I'd still like to do for this channel. I have not forgotten about the love that I have for this game and this community. You know, you can catch me on Instagram. I post I post pictures. I talk to a lot of people on there about the game. You can find me at ShoutmanTCG. But you know, aside from that, I hope you guys have a great night. I hope you guys find your name on the next skirmish prize list. Hope you get a mat. Play mats are sick. And you know, I'll see you next time. Be safe. Thanks for watching.